I don't know about you, but I love bounty hunters and mercenaries, especially in science fiction settings. The weapons, the gear, the aesthetic, the adventures, among other things. In real life, not so much. They seem kind of banal. But it kind of sucks for me as a fan because scarcely do I get to play games about them, specifically about bounty hunters. No thanks to companies like Bethesda. But thankfully, in comics, there is a abundance in comparison to games of stories involving them. One of which is the subject of today's video, Lobo, a humanoid alien called a Zarnian, and bounty hunter mercenary. And to put it in a metaphor, the man is like cyberpunk. It makes no sense why he works, but unlike Fallout 76, he just does. Another description of him that I tend to agree with is he's like a cross between Superman and Deadpool, in that he is hard to kill and has a volatile personality, which is pretty amusing. However, for varying reasons, like Superman, he is indestructible, or at least really, 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 really hard to kill. And just like Superman, this Bastich has a metric shitload of abilities and skills. These abilities and skills include, but may not be limited to, superhuman strength, speed, senses, stamina, longevity, varying durability, expert marksmanship, expert hand-to-hand combat, regeneration, immortality, and I'm not making this part up, cloning. Seriously, one drop of blood can make a new Lobo battle buddy. And the funny thing here is, Lobo came from a peaceful race of aliens. They're so peaceful and peace-loving hippies, or peace-loving intellectuals, that they had no mental asylums for decades until Lobo was born. And the only reason that happened was because when he was born, the midwife who delivered him, he bit off her finger, and then she went insane. And she refused to grow the fingers back. Which, yeah, she willingly chose to go without those fingers. So she went crazy. Has had a colorful history as well as a myriad of nicknames and monikers. These include the Last Zarnian, Mr. Machete, the Main Man, the Bow, Master Frag, Scourge of the Cosmos, the Ultimate Bastich, Machete Man, El Cazadors, and the Lord of Death, to name a few. Or that might be all of them, but I really can't be sure. I'm still reading his comics. As you can imagine, he's had a productive career. Its beginning, however, was the most eventful. To make a long yarn short, while all Zarnians are predominantly peace-loving beatniks, Lobo was not. He was actually the black sheep of his species, a cosmic madman from birth, even as a kid. Eventually fragging his entire race except for his fourth grade teacher, albeit by accident. This and information on his race covered in the Last Zarnian, the comic, kind of gives you more details about them, which I would recommend reading, just because of how insanely funny it was. Since then, Lobo has had a myriad of adventures. These said adventures include, but are not limited to, delivering and killing his fourth grade teacher for writing his unofficial biography, the longest suicide note in history, as he called it, killing Santa for the Easter Bunny, dying on one mission and coming back to life, as well as being banned from the afterlife, and being turned into a space RoboCop. Excuse me. Known otherwise as LoboCop. Oh, and here's the funny thing about how he killed Santa. They had a machete fight. And if you're asking yourself, how did this guy get banned from the afterlife? It's quite simple. He went Lobo on them. He became the biggest pain in the ass they had ever dealt with at the time. I could think of some other people who could do that job for him, but he beat them to it. I mean, he was so bad, neither heaven or hell wanted them. When hell was forced to take him, Etrigan had him at the gates, and they got into a fight. And Etrigan was like, nope, and he kicked his ass back to heaven and told them, no, that's too much, we don't want him. Some other information about Lobo, I'd say, is, well, he's crazy. he is crazy in a fun way. Like, he is volatile but fun to read. And some other stuff about him that I think would be worth mentioning is, like most people, Lobo's name has a special meaning. It means he who devours his enemy's entrails and enjoys it. After he was born, his parents left to become something I can't remember. I assume roaming hippies. Like most comic book characters, Lobo has his share of fans. One of them was special, Stan Lee. Like, you can actually find a video of him on YouTube saying that when he was asked who his favorite hero, DC comic book character or hero was, he said Lobo. And lastly, he is meant to be a satire of characters like Wolverine, Cable, and the Punisher. And yeah, it's into the well. Actually, no, I got two other notes here. One other note: adaptations. Appeared in Superman the Animated Series, voiced by Brad Garrett. He was the older brother in Everyone Loves Raymond. Excuse me. Appeared in Justice League. Appeared in Young Justice, voiced by David Sobolov. Made his first live-action appearance, played by the Irish actor Emmett J. Scanlon on Krypton, Season 2. Was a DLC character in Injustice Gods Among Us, voiced again by David Sobolov. And yeah, that's about all the notes I got. And to really drive home why I like this character, it's just how insane he is. Like, usually when I like a bounty hunter, they're serious about what they do. There's some lightheartedness. This guy's lighthearted in a dark way. Like, dark humor kind of way. And I love that about him. It's just dark. Like, not too dark. It's definitely mature. Like, one time he ripped a lady's face off with a chain hook. Oh, I forgot to mention his weapons. He has a chain with a hook at the end of it. Some rifles, some pistols. He also has a gender-neutral term he's fond of using called bastich. It's a combination of bastard and bitch. Honestly, I'm kind of fond of it. He also likes to use frag a lot. Reading recommendations. I actually have that on here. Give me 1 second. Here it is. The Last Zarnian, Paramilitary Christmas Special, Lobo's Back, Lobo Cop, Lobo Volume 1, Lobo Volume 2. That's the end of the reading recommendations. Another thing I like about this guy is just how wacky and zany he is. Like, Deadpool has that similar appeal to how insane he is, except Lobo doesn't break the fourth wall as much. I think. I'm still getting into him. But another thing about him was there was actually an attempt to reboot him with the New 52, which was... I liked it, more or less, because that was my introduction to Lobo. I hadn't read Lobo up until that point. So I liked the New 52. I think that should have been an original character instead of a remake of Lobo. Because Lobo was meant to parody that type of character. And the New 52 Lobo, he was like a dark, tortured intellectual type. And that was a bad idea for a Lobo. They should have just made him an original character, and he might have done well, you never know. I would have paid money to read it because I thought it was good. And unfortunately, we never got an ending. But yeah, despite my love for the New 52 Lobo, I still say that was outright heresy after reading on the original Lobo. And I'm glad they brought the original Lobo back with Rebirth. And someone decided to shelve the new Lobo, and I have no idea what they're going to do with him now. But it's not looking so good for him in the Rebirth. I think I heard he might have died. Might. I don't know because I haven't been paying attention to Rebirth lately. Mostly because I've been mostly paying attention to Red Hood. Now, if by some chance they make a standalone Lobo series, that I will read. Assuming that they don't put some asshole in charge of it like Tom King. Because I just want my Lobo comic to be zany, balls to the wall, funny, and just entertaining. In a dark way. Because that's what I think Lobo does best. It's almost kind of like Saturday morning cartoon violence. But anyway, that's about all I can think to say on the subject. If I had to give a rating to Lobo, like not a particular comic, but the character, 5 out of 5. Same with Red Hood. He grabs my attention. I'm always interested to hear what happens to him, and well, mostly. I should have done that 5 out of 5, maybe 4.5 out of 5. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts. If you are already a fan of Lobo, why do you like him? I like him personally just because he's a bounty hunter and he's crazy in the Deadpool kind of way. I would like to hear what you like about him. If not, and you're going to get into the comics because of the character, I do recommend the ones I've mentioned. You can probably find them online to buy or just to read. And have a nice day. And let me know your thoughts after reading the comic if you're new to it. But yeah, remember the game was rigged from the start.